Hey everybody, it's Mark at Needlejig, and today we got a special treat. I'm going to be talking to Tack Gun Joe Anderson, who does some with new school stuff, murals, all kinds of great stuff, and he's an all-around good guy too, man. Joe's been part of the team for a while now, and we absolutely love him. So, hey Joe, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Enjoying that cold weather out there, getting some snowboarding in.
Yeah, the season started a little late, but we've had a couple storm systems move through, so I got a couple pow days in and it's been good. Utah is it's different, man. Best snow for sure.
Yeah, it's just not cold and miserable like the Midwest.
Nah, not as bad. In the valley, it's pretty comfortable. Like we'll get snowed on. It usually melts within a couple days. But up in the mountains, at the resorts, like they stay heavy. So like it'll be raining down here, but snowing up there. So it's just like
Mhm.
perfect.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get out of it, that's cool. You can just skip on up and enjoy it when you want. I missed the opportunity to do that in Arizona because we lived in Mesa, like down in the valley,
Okay.
and then but you could run up north just an hour or so and play in the snow if you wanted to, and we just never took advantage of that.
There is a resort in Arizona that'll get like once in a while they'll have a storm system move through and they just get pounded. Like they'll get 30 inches like in a day and a half or so. And then you've got like a couple pow days. So I kind of want to go down and check that spot out one of these times. But I've got so many options here that it's hard to travel. It's like I just want to stay here and just get
Why
it.
would you want to? I
Right.
mean, if you got everything you need there, that's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't ski at all anymore. I did a lot when I was younger, but I just don't want to break a bone.
Yeah.
But yeah, how is life, man? How you doing? I'm glad to see you're doing well, man. I know you're doing well, but tell these guys how you're doing, man. You're hitting the scene pretty
Um,
hard.
Yeah, so I'm doing good. I moved out to Utah like a little over a year ago. And I really love it out here. It's got everything I want. And then like the tattoo community here is really strong. Like there's a lot of heavy hitters. Like Glendale, he just won Ink Master, I think, right? And he's here, and there's just so many like good artists here. So it's nice to finally be sort of a part of that. Because in Wisconsin, like there's good artists, but everybody's sort of spread out. It didn't feel like there was that community sort of like feel. So I like the vibe out here a lot. It's been good.
Yeah, it's got a higher, well, more concentrated population center than the Midwest. Midwest, everything's spread out.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so like, I mean, I was worried. You had me worried there for a little bit because you did step back from tattooing. You disappeared. You went off the radar,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
like, man, that it sucks. I was really bummed, but I know, just life wasn't being all that great to you at that point, man. But I'm glad you're back and you're just killing it.
Thank you.
I, I love the some of the murals you've been doing lately, man. That
I love
Charger,
spray painting.
that
Yeah.
Charger is one of my favorite cars ever. 68 Charger is like one of my all-time favorites. So I enjoy looking at that stuff. Now, are you balancing your tattooing with your murals and artwork a little bit better now, or what did you learn on your little retreat or break or whatever that helped you balance things out and get a good handle on things?
So I think because COVID was weird and then they let us start tattooing again. And it was like a struggle. Like I was not staying busy. And then I was sort of missing out on other opportunities. Because it's like you got to put in a lot of behind the scenes work, right? And it just got frustrating. It's like I draw so much and nobody ever gets a tattoo. It's like, why am I doing this? I started to question these things. Um, and I love spray painting. I love doing murals. So I just wanted to like commit a little bit more energy into that, take a back seat to tattooing for a little while. At that point I'd been about 10 years in the game. Um, so I think it was like good for me to take like a little bit of a break. And then so we started traveling. Like my baby mama started doing travel nursing. So we would go to different cities for 3 to 6 months, come back to Wisconsin and be there for a couple weeks, maybe a month. And then so like on my trips back, I would do a little bit of tattooing. But for that like year and a half, 2 year stretch, I was barely tattooing. Definitely not really posting it either. And it was good. I got like a lot of time in with my daughter. which was super important for me and my mental health. Because like early in my career, like I started in my apprenticeship a few months after she was born. And so I was grinding, 6, 7 days a week. And I missed out on like a ton of time with her and like pretty important stuff. And that's always kind of like, I've always carried that, and like always kind of regretted that to a degree.
I know the feeling, man, and a lot of others do too. So.
Yeah. So it was important for me to reestablish that connection and bond with her and get a lot of time in with her. And we spent a winter in Montana, which was amazing. Like in Kalispell. So we were close to Whitefish, and I just got to snowboard with her like almost every day. Like we just like hucked it, all the time. And then it was like, yeah, we need to move to the mountains, like this is the life. So we moved out here, and then I was like checking out the scene and just kind of like toying with the idea of tattooing again. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, And then I saw that there's a lot of good artists and like a better community here. So I just started kind of pushing it a little bit more. And the community's been really welcoming to me, and really supportive, and I feel like I've established myself better here in a short time frame than I did in the Midwest,
Well, I mean, when you can find a like-minded community, it's always super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say, like, on my days off of tattooing, when I was in Arizona, I used to go out on my days off and visit other shops that would be open and just, meet people, develop other relationships. If not, you get stale, even
Yeah.
if you're around a good group, that can get a little stale, just always having fresh blood. So.
Yeah, it's important. And then when I came out here, I started hosting critique nights. So I just basically invite any local artist that wants to show up, they can show up. And so we just kind of go over the tattoos, give it a little bit of a critique. Everybody takes a turn or whatever. I definitely wanted to try to like, I don't know, I didn't want to move into an area and just start taking from it. I wanted to try to do something where I was like adding to it or like becoming a part of it. So I felt that was a good way for me to do that. And that's been a pretty positive response. There's been a pretty, good core, consistent group of people. And I think they take a lot of value in what we're doing. And so that's been awesome. I like seeing people grow and learn and improve, and if I can be a part of that, and be a positive influence, I'm definitely going to take that opportunity,
Awesome. Are you still doing the critique nights? Have they turned into like paint nights or evolved, or what's going on with that?
We used to have these like paint days, before, like in the summer. We haven't really been doing them lately. The critiques, we typically keep it to critiques depending on like the group size, because sometimes you get 15, 20 people and it takes like 4 or 5 hours to just, really get through that. So we haven't done too much of that. I've been considering dabbling with the idea of like just kind of running through like color theory or like my design process or what I consider in my composition and stuff like that, just to kind of like help teach some people a little bit more. I might try that out, see how that goes. But I don't want it to be too lengthy because it does get like, you start to get antsy,
Right on. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like it's awesome. It can be a time eater for sure. But I
Yeah.
mean, when you get that many artists together, it's kind of a cool vibe because 4 or 5 hours can go by and feel like it's only been an hour because you're seeing so much, you're absorbing so much, you might be learning some stuff. It's kind of cool. But
Yeah.
so you are you doing more of the teaching, mentoring seminars or anything like that lately, or is
I,
that what you just a goal you're shooting for?
it's kind of like a thing I'm working on, moving towards. I'd like to do some sort of seminar type of thing, just as a way to just try to help people grow and learn. I really like seeing that happen, and I like being a part of that. It's really rewarding to me.
Yeah,
Um,
I say it all the time. Like I like helping people, mentoring people,
yeah,
whatever. And it's like it's awesome to give back or whatever, but really kind of selfish because you do it because it makes you feel really good.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's awesome to give, but it's not like you're not getting something in return. So,
right.
it's
Um,
it's, it's kind of a selfish act of kindness. I don't know.
so uh, one thing for me is like I've never had an apprentice. Like I've mentored a few friends and really given them like a lot of input and stuff, to try to help them. And like when people ask me questions, Depending on the day, I might give them a little bit more, but it depends how busy I am. If I'm busy, it's hard for me to like DM people back and do all that. I try to be proactive about it, but it's tough. I've got a whole life I got to keep up with. So a seminar thing might be a little bit more of an organized way to approach that. Um, but I've never had an apprentice, and so like I'm starting to think a little bit more about like lineage or what I can do to just sort of like make a mark or leave something, behind, and just do a little bit more for the community. Ultimately, like I have the belief system that the better the bar is, like the bare minimum bar, if everybody is like on the same page, that's better for me, it's better for everyone. So I like seeing the quality improve artistically. And with tattooing, it's kind of weird because there is a push to like have like the art influence, but it is sort of still lacking. Like there's interesting things that like don't get taught or they get overlooked or, they're just not thought about. So I like to try to approach things from a different perspective or viewpoint, and then you show people these things and then they have that aha and you see that, and that's always like the best thing.
Yeah, no, it's like when I got into tattooing, I don't want to say art wasn't important, but
Yeah.
it was more of a, mastering a technique in the application of the
Yeah.
tattoo to the skin successfully was really kind of like the dominant goal. And then if you could apply, aspects of art to it, that's even better. But what I've noticed in my 30 plus years is like more and more people are coming into the trade with art degrees or multiple art degrees. And I think
Oh yeah,
that's so,
for sure.
I think it's so cool. But at the same time, I'm glad I'm not trying to get into the game at this point in time because I don't know if I don't know if I could cut it. So,
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, I think it's so diverse though, and there's still such that need. And then you know how it is, man. Everything kind of like revolves. So you're seeing tribal come back with like a remix to it. You're seeing lettering get a good push again. People are starting to step away from fonts a little bit. That was a frustrating time for me. I don't like doing fonts. Like I want to do custom lettering. Um, and so everything kind of comes back full circle, and you definitely see that. And then I think each style's sort of like well established at this point. So if you're good at it and you like market yourself right, I think you can stay pretty consistent with just about anything.
yeah, I mean, we have this massive saturation of tattoo artists out there,
Yeah.
but I think we're getting kind of near the apex where the people that can't cut it, aren't good enough, are going to start falling off, and that's gonna free up more work for the guys that are passionate about it. But Joe, what is your art background, man? I mean, do you have a formal education in art or uh,
No, no, just
just a
self-taught.
doodle?
So
Okay.
like I had a pretty isolated childhood and like I just drew all the time. That was like my coping mechanism. So it was just really for me, it was just grinding it out. And then before tattooing, I was actually like an airbrush artist. So I do like shirts and helmets and like tanks and stuff like that. Started to dabble with vehicles, but never really got too far into that. Um, that's how I met Colt, who mentored me at Timeless. Um,
Nice.
and then like my daughter was being born, and I was like, damn, like I'm not making enough money to support a family. And so he was like, well, let's just teach you to tattoo. You'd be making money within a certain time frame. And those guys were super helpful. Like I would do all their drawings, so I would just be drawing relentlessly, and they'd tip me out, on the drawings. So like that's how I paid my bills for a while before I actually like started tattooing. It was insane. So really for me, it was just grinding it out. Um, and then I was really fortunate. Like I'm a studious person. I like to read. I like to study. Um, and I was looking for these books called the Famous Artist Correspondence Course, and I found them, but the guy wouldn't ship them to me, and I was like upset. And then Kanai, who is like kind of my other mentor, he definitely taught me a lot. He's like, "What books you talking about?" And I was like, "These things, like I can't find them, anywhere." He's like, "Oh, I have those. Like you can just buy them from me." And I was like, "What?" Like, so I bought them from him, and they're basically like a college art course, that
Nice.
was set up by like in the 50s and 60s. Norman Rockwell was like a part of it. And you get the books, you do the lessons, you send in a drawing for each lesson or whatever. They'd critique it and then send it back to you. So I have this whole catalog and volume of these books. and it's pretty heavy. It goes over a lot. And so I read those a bunch, and then I think like reinventing the tattoo was really like monumental for me in my development and learning, and just trying to like, it sort of opened me up to like different ways to treat tattoos, and then how to like consider aging, consider contrast for multiple levels other than just warm versus cool or dark versus light, so that reinventing the tattoo thing was huge for me. That's when like things really started to change.
Yeah,
um
Guy was a huge eye opener for me in the early mid 90s. It
yeah,
was it was mind blowing to me. Um, but that's all still just a matter of it's all still learning. It's experimentation learning, but you're trying to base your art on tried and true principles in a new medium. So
yeah.
it's cool. Yeah.
And then I was also very fortunate to be offered a position at Studio 13. And when I started there, Teresa was still there, and Kelly was there for a little while too, which was awesome for me because I was like a new schooler already. So working with them, just seeing how a shop was ran a little bit different. We did like in shop critiques. So I was getting my work critiqued by like Teresa, which was like pretty intense at first.
You
Intimidating.
have to be open to the criticism.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
But I
hard.
want to be the best, like I know that's unachievable, but I'm always trying to improve and get better, and just like be like, I want to do like flawless things, that's the goal. So I'll take that shit like all day. Like, I want it, critique it, like be hard on it. Because at the end of the day, it's like, is it bad? No. Could it be better? Yes, always can be better. So I don't take that personal. For me, it's a learning process.
It always just stings in the beginning, It's like it just you get. I get it too, like whether it be products or whatever. It's just
Yeah.
that initial sting, and then once you realize it wasn't. It depends on whether the criticism is given with malintent or whether it is given to help you improve. Once you receive it properly, it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that always irks me the most though is like seeing like Jamie Riz's stuff, because I'm always like, how did he do that? Like, that's definitely my favorite tattooer. So like when I see his stuff, it's like pretty simple, but like still has tons of shape. And I'm like, what? Like, what is he doing different? I'm like always trying to figure that out. Like, I would love to sit down with that dude and just like quiz him, just like
Make it happen.
hound him for information, like I hope I can do that.
You know how to do that, right? You just book an appointment and you get tattooed. Then you can hold them captive for a few hours and
Yeah.
pick their brain.
I had an appointment with him because he was coming to the States, but then COVID happened.
Uh,
So he had to cancel his trip. And I was like, man, like, because now I'd have to go to Europe, which would be cool. I should probably do that. It'd be nice, I might make
well,
that happen.
we'll have to get him over here at some point, right?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I love that guy. He's the
I'm
best.
sure it'll happen. Yeah, just gonna have to make it happen though. Get it hit some of the shows there in Europe, or just
Yeah.
book an appointment, save a few grand, book an appointment, and go. And then just you won't regret it. And if nothing else, you'll have a killer goddamn tattoo.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would like to do the Evian show. I like Dats. Dats is a cool dude. And I've done the Tahoe show, Actually, like a lot of props to him, because he's probably one of the only like convention people that ever like, he took time out of his day to like come up and like thank me for like coming to the show and stuff like that, which meant a lot. That doesn't really happen a lot at the shows. Like, sometimes it feels like it's just business, and
It
so
used to happen all the time, like way back in the day, but now it's like you said, it is business. I mean, it's about pushing numbers on all levels.
yeah. I know like with the Villain Arts ones, like Carl Blasphemy, he was always good about that. Like, I've chatted with him a bunch. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
But that stuff goes a long way with me. I really appreciate those kind of gestures.
Well, I mean, we're humans. We like that interaction. It's like, but it's always just it's good to feel, appreciated, I guess,
Oh yeah.
because when we do these shows, especially like, it's hard to do as an artist. It's even harder to do as a supplier. The amount of hours that goes into just, preparing and packing and traveling and all that. It's not something you can take lightly. So
Right. You
it's
got to
nice
pack
when
all
people
that
appreciate it.
stuff and
Yeah.
like a ton of stuff, and then set up a ton of product. Like, that's hard.
Yeah, haven't done it in a long time.
Yeah.
Not really missing it, but I am missing. I'm missing the atmosphere. I'm missing the camaraderie, but I'm not missing all that hard work. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, anyways, where are you tattooing out of now, Joe?
So I work at Gypsy Soul Tattoo. It's like right downtown SLC, or well, sort of downtown, just south of it a bit. But it's in a wild place like State Street, so it gets rowdy out there. But it's a really beautiful shop. And I've got a really good crew of people with me. Everyone's pretty supportive. And everyone's pretty cool. So the vibe is always good. We did have a little bit of an exodus recently, which sucked because like some of my favorite people left, and that always like kind of stings a little bit, but yeah.
It's just natural in this business, though.
Yeah.
You know, tattooers are pirates. They don't stay anywhere for too long, and it's not a bad thing. Just continue to move and grow, but sometimes it's bad. But
I think for a while there, for me, it was like every year I would like be like, I got to get into a different spot. It wouldn't be anything personal most of the time. It was just like, I got to switch it up. I got to get around some new heads, get some new perspectives, new energies. So that stuff was important to me. The last shop I worked at in Wisconsin, though, I definitely would have stayed there. I really only left that spot because of the COVID stuff and then the traveling and then moving, obviously. But Jack runs it's a good shop, man. It was like one of the most like chill places where I was able to just kind of do my thing and not have to worry about anything, like I could just show up, do my work, not be bothered. And it was like, there's such a chill vibe. I really appreciated that,
Nice. Yeah, it's hard to leave a spot, I mean, but like you said, though, every time you make a move, it's a new experience. It's learning, it's growing, it's adding to your arsenal. There's there's a negative because you're leaving friends and family and all that other fun stuff. But I don't know, it's just it's not like those people don't exist anymore and you can't go back.
Oh, I still hang out with a bunch of them. I make an effort to. One of my best friends in SLC, RJ, she left, but I still make an effort to kick it with her and say what's up. Yeah,
I mean, try not to let the shop politics or whatever get in the way too much of the friendships because I spent well over half my life in the tattoo world now, so. Yeah. But I mean, it's absolutely some of the best people I've ever met, and I don't want to know are from this industry. So,
yeah, same.
It's a good group for the most part.
I still got a lot of people in the Midwest that anytime I go back, I'm welcome with open arms. I'm able to just show up, do my thing. A lot of people give me a spot to crash, so I don't have to get a hotel or anything like that. I've got a whole group of friends that are super supportive of me, so always appreciated that and do what I can to reciprocate the love.
Yeah, I mean, we're all fighting the same battle. We're all, so anytime you can help anybody out, whether it be in the industry or outside the industry, it doesn't make a difference. It's just being a good human. There's nothing wrong with it. I was blown away. I'm going to throw in this little tiny story here real quick. I was scrolling through Instagram the other day and popped up the Killing Moon. Okay. Cool dude I follow. And anyways, he just found a massive envelope of cash in a Kroger's parking lot, right? I couldn't tell how much, but it had to be at least $2-3 in there. And it was written on the envelope said something about what did it say? It said something like rent and tuition. So it was most likely, some money going to a college student or something or whatever that was supposed to be taking care of his stuff or whatever. And he posted it live on Instagram. There was some writing in the envelope as to who it was supposed to go to. And, he could have threw it in his pocket and went and had a good weekend, but posted it up there. Hey, Atlanta people, blah, blah, blah. Please share this. Just found this. If you can tell me the name under my thumb here and how much money's in the envelope, I'll give it back. Just no strings attached. And I was like, wow, there's still good humans in the world, And in a quick update, I was like, later that day or the next night, they found the guy, got his money back. Life is good, But how many people would really do that? Realistically, I know I would. I'd like to think I would. Okay, I'm pretty sure it would, but like, especially if there was a way to trace it back. If it was a random bag of cash and there was no way to trace it back, well, whatever, it is what it is. But if there's any evidence to try and get it back to the rightful owner, I think I'd try and do that.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
it's a big amount of money for somebody.
Yeah.
But it restored my faith in humanity, which I have little of. So,
Our shop got broken into and a bunch of people's stuff got stolen, and my friend RJ's machine got stolen. And so she was like using some of her coils and stuff and just having to do that. And then so I was like, man, like what can I do to help? So I auctioned off a painting, um, and like I made a couple posts about it and a bunch of people donated a bunch of like money, 20, 50, $70, whatever. It all added up. We were able to get her a new machine, so that was good. I like when I see the tattoo community do that stuff. You see people post like their bags got stolen. It just happened here the other day. Somebody got their Pelican case stolen. All his machines, power supplies, all that just yanked. So, and it was like fucked up too. Is like a Uber driver. He forgot it in the car and then tried to contact the driver. Driver deleted his account. So whole ordeal. Sucks.
there's got to be a way to legally go backwards on that one, though, through Uber, though, because you start talking about lawyers to those people and he'll get some action.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about people like, for a while, it seemed like people would go to a show or they travel doing a guest spot or they go into a show, and right after the show, they'd be stopping to grab food on their way out of town or whatever, and somebody break into their car in a Denny's parking lot or something, like just smash and grab type of stuff. Like that happened a lot for a while.
Yeah, it really was happening a lot. I remember I'd see a post like every show.
Mhm. And then I got to the point where I'd be like, guys, be smarter. Put your shit in your trunk,
Yeah.
something. But like, so I'm kind of like thinking, oh, that sucks, but at the same time, did they almost deserve it? Like there something they could have done to eliminate? But here's the thing: that's a massive violation of your privacy. Nobody
Right.
expects anybody to go into their car and take anything. That's just horrible. But yeah, no, we help each other out where we can, man, either in the industry or outside the industry. Being a good human's not a bad thing. So,
Yeah, and karma's good. She can be ruthless if you're bad. So I think it's
not
good.
ruthless enough sometimes.
Sometimes not enough, but yeah, karma's important to think about and consider. If you're not helping people, like you don't have to be a good person, but like at least don't be a bad person.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of like that, like, hey, go ahead, do whatever you want, do your thing, believe what you want, do what you want, whatever stuff is. As long as it doesn't impose problems in my world and my family's world, it's cool. Do what you want. Doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
But like, you're not trying to negatively affect others. I don't care what you do at all.
Right.
So, but yeah, so like, do you have any active murals going on now? Winter, you're probably not getting in any of that, right? So,
I like if it warms up, and we will get warm streaks. So I might get an opportunity to go and paint a wall just for fun or whatever. No mural gigs lined up just yet, but I've got some things in the works for that. I'm going to approach it a little bit different this year. I'm starting a mural company with my friend rather than trying to do it as an individual. We're going to try to do it as a business, which definitely changes like the whole approach. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. It's going to be fun to kind of like build that up and do all that stuff. It's like I got all this knowledge from like having to build my own site and like doing, just tattooing and doing all that behind the scenes stuff for so many years. Haven't really gotten to do much with it recently. So it'll be fun to like, go through that process again, building the site and working on the marketing and doing all that. And we'll see how that goes. I have pretty good faith that it's going to all work out, but yeah, hopefully this summer I can get some jobs lined up, travel a little bit, do some shows, and yeah.
Any shop owners or business owners watching this, man, reach out to Joe. You can not only get a killer artist coming in and doing a guest spot, but like, you can hire him to decorate the shop, the walls or whatever. I bet you that would that there you go, you package that together.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that'd be fun. I love traveling. That's what like I've done in my whole career. Like even when I was in apprentice, I was doing shows, and so it's always been a big part of my like I don't know, my approach to everything. I think traveling's important. You get to see new faces, make new connections. And that's always been fun. And then like with the convention circuit, like since COVID, like it's just different. You know, it's not the same as it used to be. It's still good, but I don't know, it's like something's missing, you know. So guest spots, I'm super into those, you know, and if I can tie murals into that, I would love that for sure.
I haven't really been to any shows. We worked one small show since COVID, and that was really only because we'd paid for it prior to COVID. So when they set back up and started running again, we went and did it just out of our obligation for sure. Um, Last year, I drove out to Hell City. I
Okay.
never got a chance to check out Derb's show in all my years, so
Oh,
it was
really?
cool to go out there and see him and have a good time there. But yeah, it's like it definitely, and the couple floors that I've only been on, it definitely has a different vibe. I can't even put my finger on it, man. Could you describe it, or do you have, what's your
Uh,
observation?
it just seems like more distant. Maybe part of it's just that I've done so many of them that it's kind of ran its course. Like there's not a lot of new interesting stuff happening, or I'm not seeing anything that's like exciting. It's like the same stuff that I've seen for a decade. So maybe it needs some innovation, maybe it needs some changes. I know like with some people, like they started to do like small seminar things at shows. I think that's a really great move. I really like that. But yeah, I think the shows just kind of lack in like innovation, you know, so that's part of it. But yeah, post COVID, it's like people are more distant. The foot traffic doesn't seem the same. You get a lot of people that like they sort of treat it like walk-in style tattoos, which is frustrating for someone like me because I want to do custom stuff, you know. It's just been tougher, and I think too with the Instagram thing, like it's been a lot harder to market yourself and get stuff, you know, get people seeing your stuff. Um,
Yeah, man, that's the hardest part
yeah,
in my world. Like I like because no matter how cool your artwork is, no matter what how cool your content is or whatever, you don't get the decision as to who sees it. I mean, it's like
right.
it's just there's some computer in the background somewhere else that's deciding whether you get to eat next week or not. It's I mean, on the artist level, how frustrating it must be.
Yeah, I don't like the algorithm. The algorithm is not my friend. I think it's our enemy. So it's super frustrating. Um, and playing that game is tough and it's really monotonous. So I think that's kind of negatively affected our ability to market ourselves in a new area. Um,
Well, I
but
hope that changes because I'll be honest with you, I kind of refuse to conform on that level to some degree. I'm not gonna hop on TikTok or anything else and act like a fool and song and dance like a dancing chimp to get people's attention to stay relevant. It just doesn't make sense to me. Even though it gets millions and millions of eyeballs, I'm like, I don't know.
yes,
I'd rather maintain my dignity. I'll go
yeah,
broke maintaining my dignity.
I'd rather earn it for real and like the work speaks for itself. That's always been like, I feel like that's a true testament. You know, if I can succeed doing my thing my way, um, that feels better. But if I have to like sell out or like pretend to be something I'm not, just to get by, like I'd rather just do something else. You know what I mean?
I
It's just
agree.
not my vibe.
Well, I like I say, it's just maintaining your own self and your own integrity, whatever. It's like everybody has their line. I'm not saying the people that sing and dance for their supper are bad people. I'm just not really capable of doing it. There's a reason I've been self-employed for 3+ decades now. It's because I'm not
Valid.
quite good at conforming to other people's expectations. So
Yeah, that can be a thing. You got to be headstrong too. You know, as a tattooer, you got to be really headstrong. So that plays into it too. But yeah, I mean, teach their own. However they get it, they're gonna get it. You know. But for me, I got to be genuine and true to myself. And if I feel like I'm not, like I'm just not into that. You know.
I was talking to somebody the other day about okay, so you've been tattooing what, 12, 15 years?
Like 10 to 12, you know,
12 years? Yeah,
if you
okay.
consider my break 12.
Right. So, and that's a good run. Still a good run. Still a young guy in my book. So I was talking the other day. Somebody was, talking about how business got up quite a bit more this winter than the last few winters and everything. And I'm like, well, that's because people are kind of used to riding this massive wave tattooing's been on for a while now, where
Right.
they kind of could not make money in tattooing for quite a period of time here. But the people that weren't here, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, don't understand that tattooing typically was always feast or famine. You either
Yeah.
had steak or beans, and that was the way it went. So,
Yeah.
so to have this really long, good run is awesome. But as things tighten up a little bit, a lot of young guys haven't experienced that yet. So
Yeah. Well,
it's interesting.
the other thing too that's interesting to me is like how I hear a lot of people say like it's not like it used to be, like it used to be better and blah blah blah. And I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Like tattooing's never really been great. Like it's always been lowbrow. It's always been like brushed under the rug and not respected or taken seriously, right?
I
And
preferred it that way.
yeah, and I think it had its day because like you think about you got people that charge 5 grand a day, like that's absurd. That people can get that. And if you think about that compared to what it was 10, 20 years ago, you didn't really have a lot of people making that kind of money tattooing, man. So to complain about that is like, I just don't think they're looking at the wholeality of how things have changed and how much more serious it's been taken. Granted, it is flooded. You've got a lot of people thinking they can just do whatever they want, not considering how a tattoo ages and what it's gonna do. Which is frustrating for a guy like me, but yeah, it's like I think it's better now where it was like a few years ago, better than it probably ever was. As far as like the money side.
Yeah, I mean, back when I started, I mean, I go out and celebrate a $200-300 day. I mean, that was a big goddamn deal, and it's like now people are charging that or more an hour. And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, bad timing on my part. I don't know, but
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I think too the biggest change, and like I guess this is where it'd be interesting to get like your perspective on it because I started my apprenticeship at the end of 2010, and then I started tattooing somewhere in 2011. So I had missed like that 2008 funk, you know? So this is the first recession that I'm seeing as a tattooer. You know what I mean? So I guess it'd be interesting to know how it differs from that.
well, I mean, okay, so generally tattoos and booze have been considered recession proof traditionally throughout the years, right? But I do have an actual valid opinion on this because I was thinking about it a while back and talking with somebody. Okay, so it was recession proof because people will always kind of neglect their rent and some other bills in order to buy their booze or to get tattoos because tattoos have traditionally been really meaningful. Mostly in the old days, tattoos marked either a high or a low point in your life, a birth, a death, or something like that, right? And those are things you're going to celebrate regardless.
Yeah.
But now, because of the popularity of tattoos and the prevalence of tattooers, there's one on every corner. I don't think any family in the US right now doesn't know somebody who's a tattooer on somewhat of a personal level.
Yeah.
It could be their kid's friend or whatever, but some way everybody knows a tattooer. So it's still a recession proof type of an industry, except for the fact that there's so many people practicing now
Yeah.
that when it dries up a little, everybody feels it. It, there used to only be, man, when I opened up in the Phoenix area, there was only 6 or 7 shops in the entire Metro Phoenix area, and that's like Phoenix, Glendale, Mesa, Casa Grande, the whole valley there, 6 or 7 shops. When I sold my shop in 2007, it was well over 100. I think it was over 120. I think I did a count before I left. It was just mind-boggling. So now, if you think about it, if the economy dries up a little bit, right, and things get a little tight on people, easily support 6, 7 shops. Probably support 20, 30 shops, no problem. Probably support 50 shops, no problem. But when I mean, there's probably a couple hundred out in the Phoenix area now. I don't even know for sure. I don't know how I'd check that these days. But at that point, there's only so much money to go around.
Right.
So that's why I think people are feeling a little bit more. And I don't think we can say tattooing is recession proof. Might be recession resilient, but it's definitely not recession proof anymore. And that's just due to the number of practitioners.
Yeah.
The pie's got to go farther. So
Well, I think there's like 6 shops within a block radius of my shop.
Right.
You know, like it's crazy.
In the old days, that didn't happen because if somebody opened up too close, they just got burned down. But
Yeah.
that's just it doesn't work like that anymore.
Yeah, it used to be gully. That's funny. Yeah, so I guess that's a good point to consider. And I think too, the other thing that has changed that I've noticed is early on, people were a little bit more open-minded. They'd say, hey, this is my idea, right? And then I had the opportunity to sort of draw it, right? And they either liked it or they didn't. And now it's a lot more of like, I want this, right? And they duplicate it. And so like that's kind of changed, I think, the scope a little bit. Especially again for someone like me, like, new school prominent, even though I like doing pretty much every style. It's like I want a new school stuff as much as I can, it makes it fun.
See, that's an interesting comment because I don't tattoo regularly at all anymore. I mean,
Right.
I only tattoo friends, family, and a few other artists that for some reason want me to. And then, but my observation is, or I should say, my perception has been, I thought people were becoming more and more open to getting just, you know, dialing in an artist they like their style and just letting them have free will. So it's interesting to hear you say that it's kind of twisted the other way. So I obviously have a misconception of it. That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like I've been more micromanaged as the years have gone on, which has always been frustrating because like as I've gotten better, I'm like, you should trust me more, right? Just trust
Right.
me. If it feels
Yeah.
like the client doesn't trust me, it makes me kind of uncomfortable. It makes it like when I sit down to draw it, I'm not worried about like making it as cool as I can or like really making this something special. I'm more worried about whether or not they're going to like it. And then that ruins my whole creative process, And I think ultimately I get their perspective and concern, but I think they don't realize that it's actually making it more likely that it's not going to be as good of a tattoo, you know?
I learned early in my career to not do finished drawings of my tattoos. I mean, it's different now because it was a lot of work to lay down with, sheets of paper and tracing paper and box of Prismacolors and
Yeah.
put it applied work in for hours on these things. So one, I was lazy, but two, if I would do a completely finished drawing for somebody and show it to them, they expected it to be exact on their skin. So I backed up from that and I would do loose sketches, rough sketches, and just kind of explain to them what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that left me freedom throughout the process to kind of ad lib a little bit and stretch and move things. So, like I said, part lazy and also part trying to maintain my freedom during, decision making. So,
Yeah. It's tough because like, it's not uncommon for me to spend more time on my drawings than I do my tattoos. So if I'm doing a full day appointment, that's like a custom new school piece. Usually I'm spending 9 to 11 hours on that drawing, right?
right.
But I might do the tattoo in 6 to 8, right?
Okay.
So it is frustrating, like when you dedicate that much time, and that's my personal life. I'm not doing that at the shop. I'm staying up all night, not sleeping, not eating right, not having like good, solid relationships with the people in my life. I'm dedicating a lot of personal stuff to that. So it can be tough, and it's a hard balance. But like for me, I have to be so over prepared. I love to like really have it dialed in. I can do my color studies really quick. I've got a process, but like I try to consider as many little things as I can because like I try to treat everything like it's my last. And I don't want my last thing to be like something that I didn't commit to.
I got a question for you, man, because
Yeah.
like due to recent controversies in the world about tattooing and pricing and all that fun stuff, when this going in, you're going to spend 8 to 9 hours tattooing, and
Yeah.
you're going to spend 10 or 11 hours designing and creating the art for the process. And how do you take that into consideration? I mean, I'm assuming you're not charging, double your hourly to do that or whatever, but like you have to take that into consideration, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm curious how you're thinking about that this day and age, because
So that's actually one of the things that's frustrated me the most about tattooing versus other art mediums is that I don't own my masters. Because if I just take this design and I want to run with it and make prints or make a t-shirt or stick, whatever, right? Make things. I don't really technically own that necessarily. It's kind of a gray area. And I wouldn't be surprised if people were offended or upset by that. Right.
right.
And that's frustrating because in other mediums, it's like, I own that. That's mine. I can do with it what I want. Now I'm dedicating just as much time and energy into this thing, but I don't own my masters. Like that's always been frustrating. And I've never really been sure how to circumnavigate that because it is frustrating. I don't charge a lot compared to a lot of other tattooers. I give people a day rate and a half day rate, and then I do 200 an hour, right?
Okay.
And I know a lot of people that charge way more, especially when day rate's pretty fair. Um, and so that's always frustrating because I know that time that I'm going to be putting into that, but at the same time, like I'm a passionate person, and I want to be doing the things that make me happy. So when I get to do a new school piece, it's like I talk all this crap about like wanting to do this and make this happen and do a good job and like try to be the best or like the best I can be. Right. So for me, I look at it like now it's time to put up or shut up. I did all that.
Well, I know the art comes first with you. I mean,
Yeah.
that, yeah, I've known you long enough to know that you're not going to sacrifice any elements of the art to. So, but yeah, I didn't, not to pry, but I just kind of curious how artists are handling it this day and age, because they're like, okay, 200 an hour. Okay. So 8, 9 hours for the tattoo, 16, $1,800, that's a good chunk of change there. Is that enough to make to, because you did 2 full days worth of work at least on it. So, I mean, like that's still good money. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with, there's nothing wrong with that money, but uh, I'm curious as to what artists feel like is fair compensation these days, and it depends on where you're at in the local economy and
Yeah.
all that other fun stuff. But yeah, I'm curious about it because I don't tattoo myself anymore.
Right.
So it's like, how do you people address these issues? Because they're big issues. You can't just, ignore them. So,
Well, so like one thing I've changed is like the $100 deposit that I've always taken, like for most of my career. Now I just chop that up as like a design fee. So I'm at least getting broke off a little bit of something for drawing. If it's a custom thing, if I'm doing like realism or it's just like a quick banger type of thing where I'm not really designing, I don't do that. But if it's something I know I'm going to spend a lot of dedication on the time, like I gotta take that deposit. It doesn't go towards cost of the tattoo. Like I need that just to try to help supplement it because, and then two, like, I've had opportunities like with murals. I've been, somewhat successful with that. And it's kind of crazy to do a comparative. Now, granted, it's not like I can get mural gigs all the time, but if I can get them more consistently, I can do a $5,000 to $10,000 mural in less than a week, right? But to do that same amount of money tattooing, I got to do, 5 to 10 tattoos or whatever, right? And that's 5 to 10 drawings, that's 5 to 10, consultations. And then, so it's like, that becomes 10 to 20 days of work for the same amount of money,
No, I mean, I paid a guy to come up from Tucson in Arizona, like come up to Mesa and basically tag the side of my building, with a giant traditional Oriental dragon, and it was pretty badass. And it stayed there for, I don't know, a decade plus before the guy I sold the business to ended up painting the building.
Yeah.
But and I want to think man, I felt like it was a lot of money. Now we're talking like the late 90s, I think, or very, very, yeah, late 90s probably. And I think I paid him $800 or $900.
Okay.
And it was a big mural, and it seemed like a lot of money back then. But after watching him do it, the amount of time that went into that, materials and stuff, not to mention he was traveling from Tucson up to Mesa to do it. So it was like, it was a different experience. It opened my eyes to that whole side of a little peek into that world, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and then if you consider too, like how long it lasted, you really got your money's worth,
Yeah. It got a little faded over time, so it probably should have been painted over a couple years prior to when it did, but it was like an icon downtown Mesa, Arizona. It was, it was just this beacon. You couldn't tell it was not a tattoo shop. So it was cool. It's cool.
That's actually something that I find really rewarding about doing murals is like when I get to do something for like a small business, I'm helping them like have an identity and stand out against like the giant corporations. You know what I'm saying? So that's actually like an added bonus about it. I love that aspect of it, and there's like a study they did that shows like how murals like improve communities.
Mhm.
And it can affect like crime rates and things like that, and actually bring them down a little bit. And then people, like, the thing is like modern society's weird. Like if you think about old cultures, like even like the Greeks and Romans, their statues were painted. They weren't just white marble. Like they painted them to look realistic. And now we just see them as these like black and gray images, sort of, you know? So it's kind of interesting how we do that. But modern stuff, like the architecture kills me. It's so boring and plain, you know, and you just think about like,
Squares and circles.
yeah, it's just it's garbage, you know. So like when you have the opportunity to bring in some like color and bring in some vibrancy and make a statement, it's always like really rewarding to me, you know?
Yeah, and if it reflects the local community, it's even better. You know, it just it's it doesn't need to be, you know, community oriented, but like if it res- represents the local cultures and things like that, it's just I don't know, I enjoy it quite a
Yeah.
bit. A lot. I enjoy looking at it a lot, like I do fine architectural architecture. You know, turn of the century or earlier stuff, or Victorian stuff. I absolutely love looking at how it was made. So Utah's got a pretty cool you know, environment out there, little community out there, right? I
Yeah.
haven't spent any real time there, mostly just drive through, you know, passing through or whatever, but I've always thought it to be kind of cool.
What's cool about it is how close you are to the mountains. Like I literally can't not see mountains, you know, in every direction. So I love that, but it also doesn't feel congested. Like in Montana, there's areas that like you're sort of just wedged between the mountains and it just felt claustrophobic, you know, and Colorado's like that a lot too. Um, so here's like the perfect amount of space. And then also like you're right there. So to me, you know, for me to get up and go snowboarding, like I can be down here in the valley wearing a, you know, long sleeve or a hoodie, comfortable, and I can go half hour up to the resort and I'm like, you know, knee deep, waist deep in powder, right? So I love that. And then the art community here is pretty strong. I think Utah is actually like one of the highest ranked as far as like percentage that they give back to the art community, which was really appealing to my friend Josh and I. Josh is the guy that I'll be starting the mural company with. He's helped me with tons of jobs like the silo that I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah.
He was a big, big help with that because he has experience painting water towers. So he knows knots and heights. And I don't, you know, and I hate heights. Like it scares me. So,
I
um,
was sitting there in my brain trying to think, how the hell did he do this? This is like,
yeah, I wish I would have recorded that one a little bit more because I do like a doodle grid. So I'll just go up to the wall and I'll just randomly like do different symbols and shapes and stuff or whatever, write random things, you know? And I take a picture of that and then I'll make my reference picture transparent, like on my iPad. So then I know where what lines up. So when I'm up there on the ladder or in the lift, I'm not having to go up, you know, back and forth, like looking at it. I can just be like, okay, this triangle hits this spot. Okay. And then, you know, make my line. But doing the doodle grid on the silo was really interesting because uh the curvature, right? So like
Mhm.
I had to consider that in the design and like I messed around with like photoshopping it to try to like get it to be more flat again. And that really distorted it terribly. So I had to like find that balance between like following the doodle grid, but then like using artistic license. Like that was a monumental task. I was dealing with the heights, you know, and the lift malfunctions and, you know, being 40 plus feet in the air. It was a really good learning opportunity and big challenge. And um, I learned a lot. But yeah, the doodle grid is like super, super helpful. So if you look at my, like I have the separate art account for Instagram. So it's almost underscore SLC.
Okay,
Um,
I'll have to
I,
check that out. I didn't know
yeah,
it.
I have some time lapses on there, like the Charger time lapses on there, you know, and the skull I did next to it, stuff like that.
Nice.
And you'll see in the time lapse like how I doodled like that random stuff, and then like you're an artist, so you have an artistic background, so you'll understand like the process. But I have a lot of people ask me about it because they don't really like get it. I don't know who thought of that. Whoever it is an absolute genius because it's so much better than like a square grid. I learned it from like watching YouTube videos, Smo Nova in particular. I've actually used that method for paintings too. Like just because like I hate gridding stuff out, man. Like it takes forever. It sucks. And it's, you know, things can still be off. where that doodle grid is like, it's so effortless. So
I always used to draw things with grids, and I've been told too often I draw or paint or even tattoo too rigidly. Everything's too, it's got to be within the line. It's got to be square. It's got to be straight. It's got to be whatever. I envy artists that can draw or paint or tattoo in a loose fashion. I
yeah,
get so damn jealous. Having something like that might be helpful, where it's you're not looking for an exact point, just at least being in the right
yeah,
area and just flowing from there.
there is that
That's
balance, artistic license. And it's important to consider. And I think with tattooing too, it's kind of crazy because you've got, in my mind, I have like a list of 5 things that make a good tattoo or whatever, how I'll critique myself. Um, so I've got that, and then you've got application to consider, and then you've got aging to consider. So there's a lot of variables that can kind of go into tattooing, where with painting, you don't have as many variables to worry about. Spray painting is easy because it's like up close, it might look like sloppy or like not clean, but you step back 20, 30 feet and it looks amazing.
Mhm.
So
Like with the silo, like you approach that kind of like you would like a sleeve tattoo, because it's a round shape.
yeah,
Nobody, you're not going to get everybody to stand in the same place and look at it from the same view like you would a flat painting at a museum or something. So you have to have something to look at multiple angles all the way around. So a lot of work has to go into designing.
yeah, and well, especially with that one, because when I had first talked to her, we considered the idea of eventually doing the whole thing, but it wasn't set in stone. So I did like the native dude and the 2 horses first. And then I came back, she wanted to add more. So then I did the native lady with the white buffalo. And then I came back again and I did the background fillers and I made the chute look like a totem pole. Which was always kind of my idea with it. When I looked at it, I was like, that would be dope if it was a totem pole, right? Like, cause you don't get those kind of opportunities. So that worked out really well. But and then yeah, with the backside, I had to work around the windows and like figure out what to do in that space. And I was like, man, a feather fits the spot perfectly. It's long and tall. And like I think a lot of what I've learned from tattooing and just flow with the body really applied there, and I think that's kind of important to do. That's why I like working with different mediums and different styles. It's like it gives me an opportunity to learn more and like kind of apply it. There's rules from photography and painting that I've applied to tattooing, and then there's things from tattooing that I've been able to apply to other mediums as well.
Yeah, no, I've always told people pick up other mediums, whether it doesn't make a difference. It can be charcoal, it can be anything at all. There's always something to be learned from one medium to the next.
And I think sometimes with tattooing, it's hard to have nuance because everything has to be clean or neat. Um, and then so it's nice to get into other mediums, like especially like charcoal, for example. Like if you look at like Casey Baugh's work, he's got like watermarks and like all these crazy streaks, and his stuff's really loose and fluid, but it looks super realistic, and it's like kind of a crazy thing that he's able to pull off. But it's just like there's all this nuance, and that's an opportunity for you to like, how can I apply this to tattooing and give myself like a little bit more character to stand out from other people, things like that. So I think everybody really should consider like, it's kind of like a lot of like traditional people, they'll just draw and paint traditional all the time, and I get it, but like it's like I'd get bored with that. I think even if I was doing new school all the time, dude, I'd get so bored of that at some
Yeah,
point. Like just like same thing again. Um,
I chase squirrels for a living, so
yeah,
I there's always something else that I want to try, want to do, want
yeah,
to whatever. And I don't know if it's a some sort of a mental disability or whether it's just I'm that adventurous. I don't know. But either way, it's who I am, so it's what I do.
yeah. It's good to mix it up. And like for a while there, I was doing because impressionism is like one of my favorite movements in art. And I wanted to tie that in with tattooing and my love for that. So for a while there, I was doing all those like impressionistic tattoo machine paintings. And it was fun. I had the opportunity to do a couple of Dan Cubans for him, which was awesome. And I gave like Ernie D one, and he was super stoked about that. Like he loved that. He was like, it was just kind of cool seeing somebody like really appreciate that. Um, and that was fun. I got to mix those two worlds together a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. I just get bored really easy, man. Like if it's too much of the same, it's like I gotta switch it up, you know?
Well, there's just other, like, I look at it as there's other things to experience and enjoy in life too. So, it's like, you can love something and be passionate about it, but you know what? Like, squirrel. It's okay. It's okay if you have some degree of control over it, I guess.
Right.
So, but
Um,
man, we've been talking forever here. I don't want to. I'm not trying to cut you off or short or anything here, but other people are going to start seeing squirrels now. I am so grateful that you found a place that you're happy. I mean, that is incredible. I wish that for everybody. And I'm glad you didn't quit tattooing. That's the biggest one because you have an awful lot to offer on different levels, whether it be, just the cool tattoos you do, but like the fact that you want to teach, mentor, all that. Yeah, you deserve to be here. And a lot of people, I'm including myself, it's like your passion is contagious. And just talking to you makes me want to get up and go do something cool. Like I haven't painted in a while, and I'm thinking
yeah.
maybe I should go home and do some painting. I should do something. I'm Joe's making me feel like a lazy sack of poo right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just oh God, I gotta call you more often or do something because
Yeah, hit me up.
I
I'm on the G
definitely
spot.
this is what I miss about, say, doing shows, just short conversations, getting involved with the people I love and all that. These interactions are
Yeah.
a big part of who I am. So, you got any shows planned this year? Any place you're headed or guest spots you want to talk about real quick before we go?
Yeah. So last year I did there's a local event called the Showdown.
Mhm.
And I did that and I won it.
I was
Uh,
gonna say, yeah, we didn't even talk about that,
yeah.
man. So brag a minute. Go ahead.
So it's like last year was like 40 plus tattooers. Most of them were local. There was a few people that like traveled in or whatever. But a lot of local heavy hitters. And I kind of went into it like not expecting to win. Like I treated it like I was just like, I'm not going to win this because new school tends to get kind of disrespected. Even though arguably we're the best. Um, uh, so I kind of went into it with that perspective, but I was like, I'm just going to do my best and like, just be undeniably good and just do everything I possibly can, use every trick I know, every atmospheric effect, every like flow thing. And, I redrew that drawing so many times, just obsessed over it. And then I ended up winning it. So I got my friend Duke, he's really good. He's awesome. Neotrad guy, he got artist choice. So he got a bag and like some gifts and stuff. And then I got the best in show. So I got like quite a bit of money. It's pretty dope. Got a new machine, so that was nice. Hadn't bought a new one in like 10 years. So I did that. It was like a crazy competition, but I just went into it like, I just kind of fell on what I know. I've done shows for years. I've competed for years. Um, and so I just went into it with a certain mind state, like didn't care if I won or not, didn't care like what happened. I'm just going to represent new school. I wanted to represent new school, hold it down for everybody that I look up to, everybody that looks up to me. I didn't do it for myself. I did it for new school. And so I won that, and that was great. And that really gave me a lot of like motivation to like really pursue it because I had like I was just coming out of that, like not tattooing for, really consistently for almost 2 years. And I started tattooing again in January. And then a couple months went by, I wasn't tattooing a ton. And then I had to do that show. So it was like pretty intimidating. So I got that again this year. I have to defend my title. Not sure how I want to approach this one. I still have to dial that in. Uh, there's a couple things I'm considering. I got Tahoe again, of course. I have to do that show. That's a great show. And a lot of new schoolers go there. Like everybody from Night Owl goes there. So I got to get out there and hang with those guys. They're my favorite people, favorite, tattooers. Over the summer, I'll probably do a couple guest spots back in Wisconsin just so my kid can see family and stuff like that and still try to maintain those friendships out there, and just grind. Hopefully get some mural gigs.
All right. Well, I hope you can defend your title successfully.
We'll see how it goes.
But hey, it's like I think people see this, they might be feel called out and have to come out there and challenge you a little bit too. So, and that's what it's all about, right? You know, just meeting other people that you can respect and learning from. So that's cool. But yeah, congratulations on that. I know I've already congratulated you before, but that was a big deal, especially seeing, like you said, how you disappeared. You fell off the face of the earth, and then you came back with a bang. And
Yeah.
that was I can't even tell you kind of like the joy and even some sort of like fatherly pride I kind of felt there. Weird, kind of like, oh yeah, Joe's
Yeah.
back. It was a big deal in my world. Made me feel good. So
I think,
yeah, man, I'm happy for you. I'm glad you landed out there in Utah and you get to tattoo in the morning and that's pretty
yeah,
dope. I think we gotta end this because I think we're probably well over an hour now and people are,
yeah,
you know, yeah.
yeah,
As always, man, I love you. It's always good to see you, and I hope to see you in purpose and sometime soon because
yeah.
I definitely miss it.
I'd like to come out east, and if I do end up making a trip out there, I'm
Night
also
Owl's not that far from here.
right. So I'll definitely hit you up if I'm coming out. I'm not as afraid of flying anymore because I actually flew a plane, so now I'm like kind of over that. Um, so I think I might
You
try
want,
to.
you want to buy one?
I wish I could afford that. But yeah, I think I want to try to make it out east. They love me out there. Like I always do well, and like the people I really admire out there. So I want to get around that. So if I do end up making it, I'll definitely hit you up. Definitely have to hang out.
Well, and anything I could do to help with that too, any connections or introductions or anything, or just let me know. I'll always do what I can to help. So,
Always appreciate you, man.
all right, brother. Well, awesome to talk to you. Awesome to see you, and I wish you the very best. And go defend that title, my brother.
I'll do my best.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. Yep. Have a nice day, guys.